as we work on our toolkit, which is ever evolving and ever changing. And know that the information that you shared with us, the feelings and the sentiments that you conveyed to me, we're going to use that to help other students all across Pennsylvania. So I just want to thank you for having me here today. It's been really, really eye-opening for me and an important conversation for me to have. I think you've got a lot of power in this conversation, a lot of agency, because you are the ones who are going to set the standards now for the next generation of learners, for the younger students who are here. And so you being constructive in this process has been really, really terrific. And so I want to say thank you. And with that, it really is a pleasure for me now to introduce Mr. Rytel, one of your government teachers here at Middletown Area High School, someone who I know deals with these issues every single day. I want him to come up and share a few thoughts with you. We'll hear from a few other speakers, and then I'll look forward to taking some questions after. Thank you all very, very much. Mr. Rytel.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. At Middletown, as Dr. Hunter mentioned, our motto is every student, every day. It isn't just a saying, it is who we are and what we're all about. We have an amazing faculty here at Middletown in this district that educates, engages, and builds positive relationships with our students. The goals of them becoming and remaining lifelong learners. One topic we encourage continued lifelong growth is in digital literacy and informational literacy. We in the Social Studies Department here at Middletown, we collaborate well with one another as a family on a regular basis through common planning and exchanging of resources. We stress the importance on the intent of instruction to be engaging for the students, but to also encourage our students here to use critical thinking skills to identify informational needs. We instruct students on how to analyze sources, differences between, for example, primary and secondary sources. Once students can identify the differences, next step is to understand what is considered reliable, which includes appropriate databases or even the internet itself. I would not prefer TikTok, in my opinion, but obviously those are sources out there. To extend our professional knowledge, we at Middletown, we conduct professional learning communities and professional developments where we can learn and build with one another. These are opportunities educators gain tools and resources to assist in the necessary skills that we want to provide for our students for media literacy, but also some of those resources include from the Department of Education and also Commonwealth Library Systems. And I want to thank Governor Shapiro and administration and also the Department of Education for the support in assisting education and assisting our schools. Students need to be able to understand how to evaluate what is credible and what is relevant, and decoding whether it's a reputable source or if it's adequate, if they have adequate evidence. And that's what we push for in our classrooms. Students then can apply this in a format that promotes higher order thinking and using those critical skills. One example of applying and promoting all these skills is a form of higher thinking. In our government classes, myself and Mr. Schreiner, we do in our political ideological unit, we cover all sides of the issue. And this is an opportunity where students engage in media literacy and having them understand not just that, but also their own political ideology. Students choose a significant issue, explore the sources themselves, consider what is left-wing, right-wing, leaning, or even moderate perspectives. And during this unit, students develop an understanding of what biased sources are and reflect on the biased information, while also examining different perspectives politically from the different perspectives and points of view. At the end of the day, students have the opportunity not only to understand media bias, but also have an opportunity to develop their own opinions and their own values and attitudes and beliefs. As educators, by continually promoting digital informational literacy into our classrooms, our students are better prepared for life after school. They become concerned, competent citizens in an ever-changing digital world, and together, collaboratively, we can continue achieving the practice of every student, every day. I would like to introduce one of our students. Again, we have a great community here at Middletown, but we have amazing students. And one of those students I have is going to come up and speak to you. Her name is Miss Sana Zareen.
Good day, everyone. I am Sana Zareen, a junior here at the high school, and I say with certainty that Middletown prioritizes us students and our safety and quality of education above all. They do this through the use of digital filtering, and our school ensures that students thrive within a safe and enriching environment where the resources needed are readily available to us, filtering away any material that is deemed inappropriate or distractive to our young and precious minds. I do recall, as a new student with Middletown starting my freshman year, I was intrigued with the smooth wall security filtering system that the school used. I say intrigued because the school that I came from never used such system, and that fascinated me because it meant to me that students had a way of learning without distractions, and they would have more self-control. Instances I have found this digital filtering system useful were plenty. I recall just this other week where I was in my APUSH class and I couldn't wrap my head around the French and Indian War. I just couldn't. So I did what any other kid would do and go online and Google the thing. I looked for resources that were either .gov or .org and skimmed through each and didn't need to shuffle through much because all the reliable resources popped up on top. I did verify just to be sure. And not only that, but I use the digital filtering system in my personal life as well, not necessarily having like a screen phone time limit or something, but whenever I skim through social media, I make sure to verify the source as reliable by checking in with the author. If the author has done certain contributions to society that are kind of leaned towards a certain agenda, if not, then I rely on them for most of my sources. And at the end of the day, to me, the digital filtering system not only filters away unreliable or harmful sources and content, but instills a sense of discipline within me, which is why I believe it offers an additional advantage to its intended purpose. I'd now like to introduce the Acting Secretary of Education, Ms. Carrie Rowe.
That was well done. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, and Governor, thank you for your leadership and for making information and media literacy a priority in the Commonwealth. As the Acting Secretary of Education, I believe deeply that the power of knowledge comes not just from being able to access the information, but from being able to understand it, from asking the right questions, weighing the evidence, and making sense of conflicting claims. Our students live in a world where misinformation spreads fast, where media messages compete for their attention, and where the ability to distinguish fact from fiction is no longer optional, but really essential. It's essential for education, it's essential for civic life, and it's essential for our continued trust in our institutions. And so that's why the Department of Education set out to create an information and media literacy toolkit. We worked with experts to pull together practical resources for teachers and librarians and families. But at its core, this toolkit is really about helping young people navigate their digital world. So I want to highlight just a couple of the features of this toolkit. First, under the Family Resources tab, the toolkit offers conversation starters, practical tips, and age-appropriate guidance so that parents and guardians can continue the work at home. Because at the department, we know that media literacy is really a partnership between the school and families. Under the educator resources, the toolkit has sample lesson plans and inquiry protocols and checklists to help students be able to evaluate the credibility of claims and sources that they encounter. And you will also find all the other things that you would probably anticipate would be there, like guides and manuals, Commonwealth resources, and digital citizenship resources. Another thing is that at the Department of Education, we're always concerned with sustainability. So I want you to know that this toolkit's just the beginning. We'll continue to layer it with online modules for students to use, professional development modules for teachers and administrators, and differentiated supports so that everyone can continue to deepen their practice around media literacy. We're also listening and continually refining the toolkit based on feedback, including the feedback we received from the students today. So our hope is that it always stays relevant and useful. And at the end of the day, this isn't just about students avoiding bad information on social media. It's about students learning to think critically and to ask good questions and to become responsible consumers and creators of information, which are skills that are really important for all of us. So I want to encourage teachers and librarians, administrators, and families to check out this toolkit. You can find it online at pdesas.org. I think that together we can make sure every Pennsylvania student not only has access to information, but also the skills to use it wisely. Thank you for letting me be here today, and I'll now turn the podium over to our next speaker, Senator Kim.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patty Kim. I'm the state senator for Senate District 15. I have the honor of representing Susquehanna Township, Susquehanna School District, and Middletown Area School District. On Friday, I was at the football game with Representative Madsen, Representative Fleming, Susquehanna versus Middletown. I was in the Middletown section.
There you go.
Wanted to get a little bit of a brownie points before I start. I'm okay with you. I like you. We like each other. All right. It's always good to be with folks standing and sitting next to me. Everyone I know for certain cares about our students and only want the best for them. So like all of us, we both love and hate what is offered online. It has transformed our lives and the way we use our time every day. But I find that there's just too much information out there, and it's hard to navigate what is actually factual and what is not. I'm grateful that Governor Shapiro and his administration for doing something about it, creating a toolkit that is available to all educators, helping users identify biases, distinguish reliable information and misinformation, and create and share content in a responsible manner. Now, just yesterday, we had a woman come into our district office who was dealing with a devastating case of identity theft. Her iPad crashed, and she lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because she wasn't equipped to digitally navigate the crisis. Our office did the best we could to point her towards services that could help her, and my hope is that cases like that these will be less likely to happen moving forward because our students are being taught digital literacy. Just like history, math, science, and the arts expand our understanding of the world, digital literacy is an extension of our learning. Now more than ever, it is imperative for students to develop the ability to differentiate between fact and fiction in online contexts. This initiative is a reason to be proud of Pennsylvania for meeting this moment with curiosity and support. I want to thank the First Lady Shapiro for initiating this, and I commend Governor Shapiro's initiative to provide Pennsylvania's youngest residents with the skills to navigate a complex media landscape. Digital literacy is a small piece of a really large pie that is raising up this next generation to be better than any that came before them. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here, and I'm going to pass it over to our governor, Governor Shapiro.
Thank you. Thank you. So, one of the questions I asked the students was, when you're looking for information, you're not being fed it, you're going to go consume it, are you more likely to go on, Instagram, TikTok, something like that, or Penn Live, the Philadelphia Inquirer, NBC, Fox News, one of those kind of traditional media sites? I won't tell you guys in the back of the room how they answered, but I do want to note for the students, the people who are back here, they are largely from the media that makes up our state media, right? All those different newspapers and television stations, and they do a really important job every day. Whether we agree with how they write things or disagree with how they write things, this is an important part of the process where they get to ask me questions, hold me accountable, get information that they then share with their readers. And then typically what will happen is that guy Tom Lehman will do a 5-minute story and you'll watch 10 seconds of it on TikTok. And that's how you know who Tom Lehman is. So with that, I'm gonna let them ask me some questions while you're here, but with all due respect to the media who's here, I gotta go to the student paper first, because I know you guys have some questions. So why don't you guys go first and then we'll see what else is out there.
So I was wondering.
And just identify yourself and where you're from.
My name is Cooper Johnson of Radar Web TV here at the school.
Okay.
You were talking about the digital literacy toolkit that you have. The budgeting impasse, the current budgeting impasse for the state, will that affect how up to date the toolkit is, or whether it stays up, or how available it is?
No. The Pennsylvania Department of Education continues to operate, continues to update that toolkit. You can access it online at the website the Secretary mentioned. And all of the ideas that we gathered here today that make their way into that toolkit, they'll be updated in real time. Okay, thank you. Other questions? Yeah.
As an aspect of internet safety, security literacy, does the toolkit have anything about teaching or protecting kids from online predators, extortion, stuff like that?
For sure, it's got some of that, and I know that they're looking to add additional components to that as well. I should note I'm the former Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We've prosecuted people for the way in which they've used online resources to attack our kids or go after our children. As governor, I've signed 2 bills into law in just the last couple of years to protect against child sexual abuse and the use of AI deep fakes to prey on our kids. And so we're going to continue to look at what laws need to be changed or updated or added to deal with this ever-changing world that we are in. And we're going to continue to be vigilant, both through the Department of Education, and I know law enforcement at every level, federal, state, and local, are going to continue to work to keep young people safe. I'll also mention that, as Attorney General, I started something called Safe to Say. You guys are familiar with Safe to Say? And we received a number of tips from young people that allowed us to be able to go and protect their fellow students from online threats. And so I think all of that combined, whether it's students letting us know the dangers that are out there, the new laws that we have in place, all of those different resources combined with our toolkit are going to be are available and are really an important component here. Thank you.
There's a talk in the Capitol, this is related to the budget impasse, about using the state coffers to forgive loan interest related to Treasurer Garrity's new program to loan money to counties during the budget impasse. What do you think of that concept?
Well, look, it has been 238 days since I introduced my budget. And the state Senate, well, they've come to work less than 30 times under the Republican leaders who call the calendar there. I'm frustrated that the legislature hasn't passed a budget yet. The differences have been narrowed. We are incredibly close. What we need is for the state Senate to actually show up for work, show that they've got 26 votes for something that can also pass in the state House, and they got to put this budget on my desk. It is long past time. Understand, I can propose the budget, as I did 238 days ago. The budget needs to be voted on, and then it gets signed. I can sign it, I can propose it, I can't vote on it. The legislature has to show up for work, do their job, treat the citizens they represent with respect enough to actually show up for work, and put a budget on my desk that has bipartisan consensus.
The senators and the representatives are all going to be there next week. First time in quite a while. Are you optimistic you might get a deal next week?
Yeah, I mean, many of them left the building on June 30th and haven't been back together for quite some time. The ball is in the court of the state Senate, and their leaders there working together with Leader Bradford and the negotiators in the House. They know what the differences are. They got to make tough choices. It's time to vote the budget and get it done.
There's also a federal budget deadline tonight. What sort of impact do you expect that to have on Pennsylvania?
Yeah, look, we're studying how that is going to impact us here in the Commonwealth should they have a federal shutdown. A lot will depend on the guidance that comes from OMB, which is a federal agency that runs their budgeting. As an example, we have 7,800 employees out of our 80,000 in the state government that are funded with federal dollars. In the past, when there's been a shutdown, OMB guidance has said the states will pay them and then get reimbursed once the shutdown ends. And so we've kept those employees on payroll, paid them, and they continue to do their job for the good people of Pennsylvania. If, for example, OMB says we're not going to reimburse you, then we've got to deal with that challenge, and we've got to be able to think about how our employees are able to get paid. There are other things like that that we expect to learn from the OMB guidance later. What I can assure everybody is the state is open for business. You can go to our state parks. We're here in a school. You can access help from the Department of Education. You can access help from the Department of Human Services, from our Veterans Department, and much more. We are operating full speed ahead here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. My hope is that our federal partners are going to talk, they're going to work this out, and that there won't be a shutdown, but if there is, we'll be prepared to manage it here in Pennsylvania.
Governor, you mentioned phones can't pretend they exist, but a lot of states have been taking efforts to further restrict them, ban them from being in classrooms entirely. Given how omnipresent this content and social media is, would you want to see further restrictions at a statewide level?
That was something we talked about in class today. I was curious what the students' opinions were on that. I'm someone who believes in local control, meaning I want the superintendent or the principal to decide what is the best phone policy for their schools. My kids' school, they come into class, they have to take their phones out of their pockets or book bags, put it in like a little cubby. That's actually the way they take attendance, to show that the student is there and they're not allowed to access it during class. I don't want to take that power away from a teacher, principal, or superintendent. I also think in general, and these students can affirm this, we can't pretend that this technology doesn't exist. And I think bans like that tend to suggest that we're going to just pretend something doesn't exist because it's hard. I think the work we need to do is exactly what we're doing here today. Giving these students, giving these young entrepreneurs, these young powerful people with thoughtful things that they want to share, the tools to be able to use those phones responsibly at the appropriate time based on when the superintendent or their teachers say. But we want them to use the phones in a way that can be constructive and productive and teach them how to do that. That's been my view, and I think that is certainly what I heard from the students today and what I hear from educators across Pennsylvania. I know there's differences of opinion on this. That's my perspective.
Do you, so obviously you're here today talking about digital literacy and eroding trust in public institutions. Yeah. Do you believe that the state budget impasse and the impending federal shutdown play a role in that at all?
I mean, look, I can understand why some Pennsylvanians are frustrated that the state Senate is getting paid a full-time salary and they don't come to work and that they haven't passed a budget. You know, I speak every day about the need to get stuff done, to show progress for people. The things that are in our control that we're doing to make government work better, work more efficiently, restore people's faith. Being able to get a permit in 14 days instead of a year, that restores people's faith in the DEP, for example. You've got teachers who are teaching here in this school district who got certified way quicker because we fixed our teacher certification process. When the federal government just last week or 2 weeks ago tried to take away a parent's ability to decide what are the vaccines that he or she want to give to their children, we changed our rules here in Pennsylvania to re-empower parents to decide what vaccines they could use. All of those steps, and those are just three of many things that we get done every day. That does restore people's faith in government, to know that government is going to be responsive to them, is going to meet their need. I talk about this all the time. There should be no wrong door when you're trying to access help from your state government. Whether you go online, whether you show up in the office, whether you do it the old-fashioned way and make a phone call or write a letter, we want Pennsylvanians to know you're going to get help from our government. At the same time, they should be demanding that of the members of the legislature, particularly in the state Senate. Show up for work. Do your job. Your one job is to pass a budget, pass it. And so I can understand why people would be frustrated with those lawmakers for not doing their jobs. Yeah.
Last question.
Dennis? Oh, sorry.
You've talked a lot about frustration, and we've seen a lot of mounting political violence and tension and increased tension between the federal and state government. What do you say to the people, the Pennsylvanians who are just afraid right now?
Afraid of, I want to be responsive to your question.
Given all the mounting frustration and tension in the country, you've talked about leaders working with moral clarity.
Yeah.
What do you say to the everyday people who, across the political spectrum, are just worried?
Yeah. I mean, look, I see a federal government that is continuously attacking the rights and freedoms of Pennsylvanians and people all across this country. They're bullying kids who are just trying to be who they are. They're threatening our cities that they're going to deploy troops into our downtowns. That not only scares people, but it erodes trust in the community. To Jillian's question a moment ago, the trust that law enforcement has with the local community is critically important. The federal government is working to undermine that. I think it's frustrating to parents to see a federal government that is trying to take away your ability to parent your children when it comes to healthcare decisions. There's a level of chaos that this federal government is imposing on our communities. And I hear that back from people a lot. An exhaustion, a fear, a frustration. My answer to that is to stand up to the federal government when they try and restrict our fundamental freedoms here in Pennsylvania. I've gone to court. By the way, I've won every single time I have gone to court to stop President Trump from undermining our freedoms and our rights here in Pennsylvania. When they tried to take away money from this school district, I sued and I won, made sure the money came back. We work every day to bring calm and certainty and progress to Pennsylvania. It's a shame that we've got a federal government that's working to undermine that every day. You would hope that a president and a governor would be working together to lift people up. Right now, we've got a president of the United States that's working to tear certain people down, sometimes based on what they look like, sometimes based on who they love, sometimes based on the way they worship. That's really, really dangerous. We need leaders to speak and act with moral clarity and try and lift everybody up, not tear certain communities down. And as your governor, I work every day to protect all Pennsylvanians, no matter what they look like, where they come from, who they love, or who they pray to. Dennis, last question.
Governor, the legislative surplus is now pushing $300 million. A number of years ago, when you were a representative and chaired that commission, you said it should only be a couple of months' worth. Yeah. Because the thought was, well, if there's a government shutdown, you need the money to be able to, quote unquote, fight the governor as a legislature. But the fact is, people are still getting paid. Is there even a reason for that, to that number? And what do you make of $300 million sitting in that account that perhaps could be used for other budgetary items?
You know, I think it was 20 years ago or so, 18 years ago, when I was put in charge of that commission, I said however many hundreds of millions of dollars were in it at the time should be returned to the taxpayers, invested in our schools or in our state parks. The fact that state lawmakers can take your money, tax money, and squirrel it away in a bank account that they have in the legislature and use it to fund themselves and their operations, I think that's wrong. I know that there have been some bills that have been talked about to say lawmakers shouldn't get paid if they don't pass a budget. Put it on my desk. I would sign that. They got to show up for work. They got to do their jobs. They shouldn't be in a position where they get their benefits while people in Pennsylvania don't get what is owed to them. It's time for them to come back to work and pass a budget, okay? I want to just say thanks to all the students here. I have to tell you, and a lot of members of the media here see me across Pennsylvania. I get the chance to leave my office and go visit with Pennsylvanians a lot. I try and do it every day. This particular visit was really important to me. And I just want to say thanks to the students here especially for your willingness to be really raw and honest with me, to tell me what's on your mind, and to help give me and Secretary Rowe a lot of homework here as we take this digital literacy toolkit that I think is really working and make it even better. And I hope students here at Middletown understand that you're going to have an impact on students all across Pennsylvania now because of the feedback you gave me here. So I want to wish all of you luck. For those of you who had those career questions, I just want to encourage you to remember what we talked about. Don't be afraid to fail. Follow your passion. Don't listen to all of those other voices around you. Listen to the voice inside yourself. And I am so excited to see which one of you ends up like Representative Madsen one day. All right? Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.